Hello, I was recently elected Prime Minister, and my first order of business will be to stop all funding for cancer research. Our government has been financially supporting the research and development of cancer for too long, causing it to affect innocent people, resulting in the pain and suffering of many. But no more! We must stop giving people cancer. By putting an end to cancer research, I will put an end to cancer. Crash Bandicoot is a series that has levels. After a marathon of playing through all the games in the series and reviewing them thoroughly, I've become very well acquainted with those levels, and I've learnt that some are way more average than others. There's a massive spectrum when it comes to Crash levels. Some feel like they're made of gold, others feel like the developers coded literal human feces into the game. But between those two extremes are a collection of average levels that are neither here nor there, levels that people are largely indifferent about. Levels that never get a chance to shine because everybody is either too busy getting horny over the best or too busy slashing their veins over the worst. In both cases, everyone is crying. It's time to put the average levels in the spotlight and see what they have, or don't have, to offer. There's no possible way to make this exciting, so I'm just gonna say, here are the top 10 most average Crash Bandicoot levels. Kicking us off at number 10 is Wild Nile Ride from Crash Bandicoot 2 Entranced. Wild Nile Ride is actually one of my favourite levels in Entranced, unlocked in Entropy's Warp Room by collecting all of the red gem shards. I think it's a very interesting, creative, unique level. There isn't really any other level like it. Wild Nile Ride is essentially one big water slide. I once went down a water slide in Bali, during which my board shorts got caught on a bit of stray plastic, causing them to rip clean off. It would have been embarrassing for someone who wasn't well endowed. Too bad I wasn't well endowed, but to be fair, at the time, I was only 23, a mere boy. Unlike all the other levels in the game where you head to the right, Wild Nile Ride has you head down. This is a vertical level and involves avoiding hazards, mainly nitro crates, as you slide down the watery slopes and fall between the Egyptian pillars. But what's interesting about it is that there's no single way forward, or downward. There are multiple points where you descend down to the next level, and there are plenty of offshoot areas you can completely miss if you descend prematurely. It's an interesting level. I also really enjoyed the GBA translation of Warp's Egyptian theme. It maintains the mysterious nature of the environment while providing a bouncier, funkier take on the music. It's not exclusive to this level, but that doesn't make it any less enjoyable. I think Wild Nile Ride is really cool. But only in hindsight. If you know how Wild Nile Ride works before you go into it, it's fun to sleuth out all the areas and find all the crates. But on your first time through, you have no idea what's going to happen. So you're going to end up making mistakes and taking the wrong routes, resulting in loads of missing crates when you reach the end. What the level ends up being is a confusingly structured downwards labyrinth of slides and drops with nasty crate placement and loads of blind jumps from which you can't return. If you're going for the crates, chances are you'll have to start the level over multiple times because you keep unwittingly missing crates in certain areas or accidentally falling too early. Of course, you can just not bother with the crates and focus on simply beating the level, but what kind of fucked up Crash player wouldn't go for the crates? Absolute sickos, that's who. I do like Wild Nile Ride now that I've beaten it because I can fully appreciate what it was going for, but that first time really did my head in, as I imagine it did for many others, which is why I can't say that Wild Nile Ride is any better than average. Next on the menu at number 9 is Hot Cocoa from Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. Hot Cocoa is similar to Wild Nile Ride in that it is a one-of-a-kind level in its game, but it's not similar to Wild Nile Ride in that I do not like it. Hot Cocoa is one of Warp's 4 jet ski levels, the others being Makin' Waves, Tono Tales, and Ski Crazed. These levels I don't mind. While I would rather run around on foot, these jet ski levels are linear, focused, and straightforward. They're easy to get into, don't stick around for too long, and are admittedly some of the better vehicle levels in the whole series. Not that the bar is high or anything. Hot Cocoa, on the other hand, is nothing like those 3 levels. Hot Cocoa is the odd one out, the black sheep. Rather than having a course to follow, Hot Cocoa plonks you in an open area with the exit right behind you blocked by nitro crates. To beat the level, you need to find and activate the nitro switch, then head back to where you started. If you wish, you can explore around and break all the crates as well. This was the series' first attempt at an open level, and I don't think it was a very good idea. The level is very empty, with not a lot of challenging arrangements of obstacles. It lacks structure, it lacks direction, it lacks anything of interest. The only reason you would play this level is if you're going for 100% because it has a gem and a relic. There's no crystal, so if you're not going for full completion, there's no reason to come here. And because it's a secret level, you have to make the extra effort to even get in. That's why you're watching me collect all the crates in time trial mode, so I can collect the gem and then kill myself, so I don't have to leave the level and come back for a time trial. Conveniently, the clock shows just how long it takes. Well over 5 minutes to get all the crates, which doesn't include the minutes of time frozen by the time crates. It's such a long, drawn-out process. You can't really see what's off in the distance, it's hard to get a sense of where you actually are in the level, it's just really slow, boring, and tedious. And if you don't go for all the crates, you just head for the nitro switch and then come straight back, with no attempt by the level to hinder you at all because the level has no design. This is a nothing level. It's not terrible, but my god, it is lacking. Compared to the other decent jet ski levels, Hot Cocoa is middling and therefore average. It's a secret level that probably should have stayed secret. At number 8 is The He Blows from Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, and I hate it when levels have unnecessary exclamation marks in their names for no reason. The He Blows doesn't even deserve to have an exclamation mark. The exclamation mark implies excitement, and it's not an exciting level at all. The average Crash 4 level is actually really good. It's a strong game as far as levels are concerned. The only one I consider to be bad is Rush Hour, but I've talked about that already. Every other level in the game is decent at worst, and The He Blows is one of the just decent ones. This is a timeline level, so the back half of it is pretty much the same as one of the standard levels. In this case, that's Booty Calls, which is a simple but really cool level that's pretty hard to criticize. The He Blows is different in that it features Dingodile in the first half. There's nothing wrong with Dingodile, other than his very existence as a fusion of a dingo and a crocodile, making him a crime against God, but as far as Crash 4's playable characters go, he is the least interesting. He's very slow, he plods around, and most of his gameplay involves sucking up TNT barrels and shooting them at roadblocks. It's not particularly remarkable, and his part in this level isn't even that long. His section takes about a minute to beat, and there's nothing particularly interesting about it. It does a little zigzag. Like, that's the best it has to offer. The level does benefit from stealing its tail end from Booty Calls, and by tail end I mean most of it. It's now reconfigured to have more dangerous crate placement, especially in the bonus round, where some pretty bonkers techniques are required. Booty Calls is a good level, and you basically get to play it again in The He Blows. But it would be really unfair to give The He Blows the credit of doing a good job when about 80% of it is just Booty Calls. Looking at the sections unique to The He Blows, it offers very little in terms of quality and quantity. It's short and there's nothing impressive in it. It does benefit from the same visuals and theme, but apart from that, there's nothing special about The He Blows, making it a pretty average level overall. In fact, I'm going to start a petition to force the developers to remove the deceptive exclamation mark from its name because it really doesn't deserve it. Crashing in at number 7 is Tsunami from Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex. Tsunami is a bit of a joke of a level for a number of reasons, and you know what? I agree. All things considered, it is a bit of a joke, but I don't think it's as bad as some people make it out to be. With a name like Tsunami, it would be fair to assume that it's naturally a disaster, seeing as it features a literal, natural disaster. But I do think it's kind of cool. As an idea for a level, as a theme, as a spectacle, I do like it. You're in this very clearly European-inspired village during a violent thunderstorm. You see the villagers scrambling for cover as you make your way along the harbour. Then suddenly, just as Coco mounts her scooter, a tsunami comes crashing in, destroying everything in its path, until it is thwarted by a mighty wooden door. It's pretty over the top and ridiculous. Escaping a tsunami via scooter and having that tsunami be stopped by some pretty basic craftsmanship is dumb and funny. But it's also kind of cool. There's no other level like this really, except for maybe Avalanche, but that's much shittier than this. I like the environment, I like the concept, I like the story of the level, I like the European-inspired music, and I just like the ridiculousness of it. Crash Bandicoot, in essence, is a ridiculous series, and a level like this fits in perfectly. The only problem with Tsunami is the actual gameplay of it. It features Coco, who is worse than Crash in pretty much every way, especially when you factor in the global state of women's rights and the gender pay gap. She's a less mobile, less versatile character, and the gameplay suffers because of that. She also spends a fair chunk of the level on her scooter, which feels like a very shoehorned in vehicle. She's not that much slower on foot, she could have just ran I think. But the big issue is that the level is really short. You turn a corner, escape the tsunami, and that's pretty much it. If you have the blue gem, you can do the blue gem route, which is interesting in that it lets you explore the carnage of the tsunami, but even that isn't very long. Nearly half of this level's crates are in the bonus round, 43 out of 101. It's too short to really be able to do anything impressive. I like Tsunami for what it tries to be, but it suffers because of what it actually is, causing it to be an average level. Stinking up the place at number 6, we have Boiler Room Doom from Crash Twinsanity. Boiler Room Doom previously made it to the number 2 spot in the very bizarre top 10 green levels, mainly on account of how green it is. But here, we're looking at how average it is, and I've got to say, it's pretty average. Most levels in Crash Twinsanity have something that makes your toes tingle. Certain characters, enemy or playable, certain locations, certain gimmicks, something to make it stand out. Boiler Room Doom has something, but I'm afraid it doesn't really make my toes tingle. The gimmick of Boiler Room Doom is that Crash and Cortex collaborate in a unique way. And by collaborate, I mean Crash forces Cortex into what is essentially a robot sausage machine. After sharting in his pipe, Cortex is used by Crash to solve these pipe and valve puzzles, although calling them puzzles is generous. Each room has a number of blue valves that Crash has to spin to create a path for Pipe Cortex to be flushed through, and to reach them, he has to do a bit of platforming. Once done, he can flush Cortex down, and the path to the next room will appear. And it's kind of boring, which sucks since it's most of the level. There are occasional sections where Cortex leaves the comfort of his shart pipe, but even they aren't that interesting. A lot of this level is wandering around and waiting for Cortex to do stuff. And if you play the Xbox version through the Xbox 360, it takes even longer because the game loves to drop its frames here. This isn't a bad level, I think it's a neat idea, it just needs a bit of work so that Crash can be more involved. Maybe if it was more like Cortex Pinball instead of a Cortex Marble Run, something like that would really help, because as it is, Boiler Room Doom doesn't feel interactive enough. The platforming is standard, and its gimmick is kind of lame. Even the theme isn't that interesting, seeing as it's a bright green sewer that expulses toxic green fumes, just like Cortex did in his shart pipe. The boss against Dingadal at the end is pretty cool, but the entirety of Boiler Room Doom before that is decent at best. With a bit of reworking, Boiler Room Doom could have been a neat level, but as it stands, it's only average. Halfway between most average and least most average is a level that is halfway between red and yellow, Orange Asphalt from Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. Orange Asphalt is a motorcycle level, which is one of only 3 level types in the game to have more than 3 levels, the others being Egypt and the jet ski levels. These level types have 4 levels each, and if I'm being honest, the motorcycle level type barely deserves to have 1. The motorcycle is not the worst vehicle ever, I'd probably have to give that title to the planes that nuked Japan, but the motorcycle in Warped isn't a whole lot better. It's stiff and awkward to control, and the courses you use them in are generally not that interesting. So you might be thinking, why is Orange Asphalt being singled out? Well, it's the only one that has nothing unique to offer. Hog Ride is the first motorcycle level you do, it's the introduction. That's Hog Ride's thing. Road Crash has a secret level entrance hidden in it. That's Road Crash's thing. What's Orange Asphalt's thing? That it takes place in the afternoon? It's not a level that conjures up any interesting thoughts or feelings. When you reach Orange Asphalt, which is level 22, the only thing you think is, fuck, not this again. But what about Area 51, I hear you cry. Yes, Area 51 does come after Orange Asphalt, but it's actually the most interesting motorcycle level. It takes place in darkness, it features flying saucers as your competition instead of the same races that all the others have, and it has a question mark in its name, which in stark contrast to the exclamation mark, I absolutely love. Orange Asphalt is outclassed by all the other motorcycle levels in some way, making it the least impressive and least memorable one in my opinion. But why am I considering the level average when I don't like the vehicle or the level itself? Well, my sweet jar of mayonnaise, it's because when it comes to vehicles in this series, there's worse. Much worse. And besides, Orange Asphalt does look pretty and the music is good too. But that's not enough to save it from being average. At number 4 is Nighttime from Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex. Nighttime is the first level in Wrath of Cortex's 6th warp room, a warp room you'll be very familiar with from top 10 worst Crash Bandicoot levels. The 3 worst levels in that list are from this room. In fact, I'd say only one of them is actually definitely good, that level being Solar Bowler. That leaves us with Nighttime. Nighttime is an interesting one because I'm not confident in calling it good at all, but I'm also not confident in calling it bad. There are some things I like about it. The music is one thing, I think it's really cool castle music, and I also like the darkness aspect of it. I do like levels that play with limited sight, and while Nighttime doesn't develop the concept in any meaningful way, it at least uses it, and that's something cool. It's also the only level in the final warp room that isn't a vehicle level. But that's sort of where the good things end. The level features Coco, who, as I've already established, is just worse for platforming levels than Crash is, given the glass ceiling. But also, it's not even really an original level. In terms of its layout, it's pretty much exactly the same as the Gauntlet, with different configurations of crates and enemies. Now, the Gauntlet is a great level, so the idea of playing it in the dark sounds kinda fun. But at the same time, you're playing pretty much the same level again, only this time with a worse playable character. Nighttime, in that regard, does feel like a pretty pointless level. It is Wrath of Cortex's only proper darkness level, but it's still not an original level. It's a weaker version of a pre-existing level that also requires 5 time trial relics to unlock. It's nowhere near as offensive as the likes of Ghost Town, Ice Station Bandicoot and Force of Nature, but it still doesn't feel like a worthy reward. I do personally enjoy Nighttime, but I don't know. It's not bad, but it's not good, making it by definition, average. Also fumbling in the dark at the number 3 spot is Fumbling in the Dark from the very first game. Fumbling in the Dark is another darkness level and also another secret level. There's been lots of crossovers in this list so far, lots of levels from bonus warp rooms, lots of secret levels, darkness, vehicles. I guess this is just the stuff that Crash Bandicoot does so mediocrely. I do like darkness levels, I think I've made that pretty clear. Some of my favourite levels in the series are darkness levels. I seem to be naturally drawn to darkness, I'm like an anti-moth. But Fumbling in the Dark is a pathetic darkness level. It's basically just a copy of Lights Out, which is also a pathetic darkness level. These levels are both completely straight lines full of basic jumps, the main gimmick being that they're in the dark. And by basic jumps, I mean basic jumps. They're some of the most basic bitch jumps in the whole series, rivaled only by the Great Hall. But what's dumb about it is that the light you're provided so that you can see the actual hazards is connected with Aku Aku. He serves as the light source, so if you take damage and he disappears, so does your light, meaning you can't see, which is in my opinion, a dumb way of going about it. There's already a time limit on it, why should taking damage also kill the lights? Why put a timer on it at all then? They're not very interesting levels, and they're not very long or difficult either. The reason Fumbling in the Dark is being singled out is because it's a secret level. You have to make an extra effort to unlock this level. You need the key, which you get by completing the Cortex bonus round in Sunset Vista, which you will most likely fail at multiple times, forcing you to leave Sunset Vista and re-enter it so you can beat it. And Sunset Vista is a brutally long level. It takes ages before you get all 3 Cortex tokens. That's a lot of effort for a level like this. Why couldn't Stormy Ascent have been here instead? That would have been a much better reward. Fuck Fumbling in the Dark. What does it bring to the table that Lights Out doesn't already? At least Lights Out has the purple gem. The best Fumbling in the Dark has is this shitty awkward beginning section with crates. Fumbling in the Dark is an average level. Just like Hot Cocoa, it's a secret level that should have stayed secret. Just in Slime for the number 2 spot, it's Just in Slime from Crash Bandicoot XS. Just in Slime is the first sewer level of Crash Bandicoot XS, and the second sewer level on this list. There are a lot of patterns emerging. This sewer level theme in XS is a direct GBA translation of the sewer theme from Crash 2, but it notably features less. There's simply less stuff in it. Later sewer levels do resemble Crash 2's sewer levels better, but Just in Slime does not. It's basically the skeleton of a sewer level. It's very flat, with very few hazards or interesting platforming challenges, and nothing exemplifies this better than the section after these pipes. As you can see, there are some crates here blocked by nitro crates, so if you want to break them, you need to detonate them with the nitro switch and then come back for them. A little bit of backtracking, and just look at it. Look at all these interesting platforming challenges you have to overcome, and the maneuvers you have to perform to make it back to these specific crates. Look at how intricate and well designed it is. I've never seen anything like it. Just in Slime, more than pretty much any other level in the series, clearly relies on its crates very heavily, because without them, this level isn't really anything. The best platform you'll see in this level, unbelievably, is the bonus round, because at least there are, like, pits in it. The main level doesn't have anything besides a few pipes you need to crawl under. Later XS sewer levels make an effort to be a bit more interesting, including things like monkey bars. Why couldn't Just in Slime? This level is one of the most bare-bones, basic levels in the series. Without its crates, it's literally nothing. But at the same time, crates are very important pieces of the Crash Bandicoot puzzle. Without crates, I assume most levels would be like this. But Just in Slime overall is not a bad level, if you don't think about it. It's not like you just walk through it and that's it. There is some stuff going on, but it's nothing to celebrate. It's not bad, but it's certainly not good, making it a very average level. Now I know you're all on tenterhooks, desperate to find out what the most average Crash Bandicoot level is, but I have some more to say before we get to that. There are so many levels in the Crash Bandicoot series, and most of them are somewhere near the middle of the quality scale. That's simply a fact. And it's also simply a fact that not all of them can make it into the middle 10. The German word for average is Durchschnitt, meaning through cut, and I had to through cut some levels because there simply wasn't enough room. So here are some through cut levels that I couldn't include, presented here as honourable mentions. Lagoony Tunes from Crash Bandicoot 2 Entranced. Entranced has quite a few vehicles, but one of its unique ones is the wakeboard. Attached to something, Crash needs to use the wakeboard to avoid obstacles, make jumps, and simply survive. This is unironically better than the wakeboarding in Wii Sports Resort. It's not the best vehicle in the world, but I still find it fun. I like that they included a threatening shark inspired by Jaws, as well as seagulls inspired by seagulls. The music is great too. The reason I've gone with Lagoony Tunes is because it's a clever name, and also it's the most basic version of this kind of level, making it the most average one of the lot. Wasteland from Crash Mind Over Mutant. I don't know if it's called Wasteland, but that's the name of the song that plays here, so that's what I'm going to go with. As far as Mind Over Mutant quote-unquote levels are concerned, Wasteland is one of the better ones, making heavy use of the Rhino Roller for traversal. It feels like a bootleg Sonic game, and I mean that as a compliment. The music is great, I like the way the desert looks, and with the focus on the Rhino Roller, it offers something different. The only reason it's average is because it's in Mind Over Mutant, which is a game that has problems. Insanity Beach from Crash Bandicoot. I know, it's blasphemous. How can I call the first level in the series average? It's so iconic. Well, that's why, you dumbass. This isn't top 10 most iconic Crash Bandicoot levels. I might write that idea down, actually. Insanity Beach is iconic and it's where this all started, but that doesn't mean it's a brilliant level by default. When you really look at it, Insanity Beach is actually not that interesting of a level. It's short, and it has a split path and a bridge of crates as its most interesting features. The rest is the beach where you start, and then the same jungle environment you see in quite a few other levels. I'm not knocking this level, it's a great and indeed iconic opening level, but I wouldn't call it an outright good level. It's average, and that's a beach I'm willing to die on. And finally, we've reached the number 1 spot. I guess we'll never find out which level is in number 0, but we definitely know that our winner, if you can call it that, is the Pits from Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back. The Pits is one of the early levels from Crash Bandicoot 2, and shut up, I know what you're thinking. A Crash 2 level? Only average? What has this guy been smoking? And to answer those questions, yes, a Crash 2 level, yes, only average, and marijuana. The thing is, all Crash 2 levels are great, even the vehicle levels. There isn't a single outright bad level in the game, which is very impressive for a platformer. There's usually at least one stinker. So why the Pits? Doesn't Crash 2's good by default make the Pits a good level? I guess so, there's nothing wrong with it at all, but it's very outclassed by other levels. It's not the best level in the game, it's not even the best level in its warp room. In fact, I'm willing to say that it's the weakest level in all of Crash 2. It's a jungle level, but it's the weakest one. Turtle Woods has better ambience with the rain, as well as the death route and the coloured gem. Night Fight happens in the dark, and has a death route, and Totally Fly also happens in the dark, and is a secret level. What does the Pits have? A split path? So many Crash levels have that. That's not a unique feature. The only unique thing about the split path is that uniquely, no one ever remembers the right way to go first. The Pits the level is named after? Turtle Woods has those too. The Pits doesn't do anything that other levels don't do better. But at the same time, it's not a bad level, and that's what makes it so solidly average. It is the most cookie-cutter Crash level in the whole series. Its theme, its layout, and its gameplay are all so quintessentially Crash. If you took the most common recurring features of all levels in Crash's history, the Pits is the level you'd come out with. It's the weakest level in Crash 2, but Crash 2 is really strong. That cancels itself out, meaning that the Pits is mathematically average. It does hurt a little to say that a level from my favourite game in the series is not only average, but also the most average, but I think it's true, and you know what? Having a level like the Pits be the series representative shows just how good this series can be. As long as you ignore the enormous shit stains. It's a solid middle point to have, and the Crash Bandicoot series should be really proud of it. So what have we learned from all of this? We've learned that the Pits is the most average level in the series. Unexpectedly, we've also learned that the most average level theoretically possible is a secret vehicle level with a sewer and castle hybrid theme that takes place in the dark and steals the layout of another level which has branching paths, and its title needs to have some kind of punctuation mark in it. Once the series gets a level like that, we will know the true averageness that Crash Bandicoot can achieve. But for now, the pits will have to do. Also, I'm resigning as Prime Minister. People seem to like cancer funding for some reason, so I've been advised to step down and change my mind. Long live cancer.